Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this exclusive session organized by the National Human Resource Welfare Association Trust, NHRWA, and iAsia. Today, we are going to be in conversation exclusively with Dr. Mamatha Gowda. Starting her career as a journalist and immediately after moving into corporate communications with Wipro, she has broken gender stereotypes and has taken the world by storm with her grit and determination. In 1990, 6 years after she kickstarted her career, Dr. Mumta qualified through to become an administrative officer with the government of Karnataka. She joined the administration of the government as an assistant director with the Department of Information and Publicity, and has been bringing about a change where it matters the most, which is at the grassroots. At a time when the term computers was only restricted to the few software companies that were mushrooming in Bangalore in the early 1990s, Dr. Mumta set about on a mammoth task to computerize the Bangalore City Corporation. She has in fact been a very integral part of the Sakala mission of Karnataka, a model that has become a benchmark for several similar programs across the country. More importantly, her efforts were recognized when she was awarded the Prime Minister's Award for the implementation of Sakala, which is basically the time-bound guarantee of Public Services Act in Karnataka. From Sri S.M. Krishna to Sri Basavaraj Bommai, across a gamut of chief ministers who have come into the government of Karnataka, she has been working in very close quarters with each of them and has been working relentlessly for not 1 or 2 years, but for almost 30 years now, creating an impact, again, as I said earlier, at where it matters the most, which is at the grassroots level. Ladies and gentlemen, who are present here today, both at the NHRWA platform as well as on the social media handles of iAsiaNewsMusic and NHRWA, I welcome you all to this exclusive conversation that we're going to have with this woman of substance. But more importantly, she is a person who is determined to make a difference where it matters the most. As of today morning, I learned that she has now been charged as the Inspector General of Stamps and Registry for the Government of Karnataka. So very hearty congratulations to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So to begin with, I would like to ask you, you basically come from a family of very erudite people. Your father was the vice chancellor of the university. Your mother is a brilliant artist. How did they influence your personality, in and shaping you for what you are today?
Thank you, Kirtana. Yes, it is because of what my parents were that I am what I am today. Number one, none of my parents, not my parents, my grandparents, nobody in the family ever said you're a woman, so you do this, or you're a girl, so you be like this. In fact, it was my grandmother who was, had not received any formal education, who used to tell me every time we sat down to do something which is very mundane, like you know people would tell, okay, learn tailoring or something like that, then very mundane things, she will say, no, spend your time on intellectual work, learn something new, learn a new language, read some books, write, do some writing. And she never ever said that go into the kitchen and learn the culinary act, skills because you are a woman, cooking skills, or you do this because you're a woman, you have to come back home early because you're a woman, you can't wear these clothes because you're a woman. Never. In fact, it was and she even used to say that marriage is not the ultimate for a woman. She has to first prove herself as to what she is, and only then you should go in for anything else. So even my own father, he was a literary person also, so a lot of literature was introduced to me very early in life, and including my mother, who was an artist. So they would, so the kind of grooming was always given that for us to do something, to become something different, and more so from my family, when they said service. Service is something that we want you to do, be a service in the sense, I'm not talking about civil service or anything like that. They said, try to touch the maximum number of people's heart, try to do something for people. That is more. In fact, I was in Wipro, and incidentally, I was not in corporate communication. I was in the product management. I was a product manager in Wipro, and it was probably the height of my career in the in an IT firm. And that is when I got this offer of, I mean, I had passed my civil services, and this was when assistant director came to me then, and it was for 1/4 of my salary to what I was drawing in Wipro. And so I was actually pretty reluctant because I had a kind of a cushy lifestyle. I had, good money, good friends, all in the, those days, IT companies were filled with young people of my age group. So I had a very good social circle. So to live all that and come to the government, I was very reluctant. And it was my father who sit me down and said, "Look, there is a social relevance here. You can make a policy for which will touch many people's lives. You can better living standards for people, which you can't do. You can earn well, you can go all over the world, you can enjoy your life, but a life is not worthy if it is not in for the cause of service to other people. So you should join this." In spite, in fact, he even went to the extent of saying, the rest of the 3/4 of your salary which you have to sacrifice, I will give it to you if you join this, take up this job. So that was the kind of motivation I got from my family.
Fantastic. Now, if I remember well, you also have a sister and a brother, right? So, was there any, what is it that was different, given the times about 30, 40 years from now, the way your parents interacted with, between the two genders, between the daughters and the sons? Did you find any difference? Because even today, there are many families where we find where, the sons are preferred over the daughters. So, did you find any difference in that?
Actually, there was a difference, but it was for our advantage. In fact, nobody questioned when I came late home. Nobody questioned where you were, why you are late, and money was given to us and not even questioned as to how you're spending it. But my poor brother had to go through quite a bit because every time he came late, there would be a lot of. And my father was very strict with him. He will ask him, "Where had you been? What was your thing? Why are you late?" And and money was always measured and given to him. So the idea was that as women we know how to handle, and the maturity is already there. So the man has to be groomed. So he, yeah. In fact, he is a very good cook, my brother, and he is a doctor now. Both the my siblings are doctors, and they settled abroad. And he was made to do everything that we do. My parents always said, "You have to not just, I mean, for women, how they say you have to stand on your feet, they'll say you have to be self reliant. We don't want you to say, no, I'm going to the restaurant because I don't know how to cook, or I'm going to do this. I can't wash my clothes, so I will, if there's no servant, I will suffer. Or if my wife should come into the house to become my cook and my servant and my this thing." So that way, he was groomed to take up all the responsibilities of the family. And whereas, even though we would love to go into the kitchen and cook, my mother will say, "Okay, that you can always learn, and you should do this. You're good in writing, so do this, and you're good in art because I was very good in art, so do this." And so always something new was given to us. So I think my poor brother was actually discriminated in the family.
No, but I think on the whole, I think that's the approach that we need to take to ensure that there is like a balanced growth for everybody. Because today, gender really doesn't matter. Everybody is achieving everything. So I'm going back to what you just said earlier. You said that you had a very cushy job in the corporate sector. So and administrative services as such was not the first choice for many, of course for men, because it kind of gave them that leverage that they were in a government job, they would have like job security and so on. So what was it that inspired you, apart from the fact that your father, of course, sat you down and made you talk about how you could make a difference, but personally, what was the greatest inspiration that kind of encouraged you to opt for this administrative role in the government, where I'm sure you had to deal with a whole world of politics and a whole world of people and gender bias at the grassroots itself?
Yeah. Initially, it was just the push, that my father gave me towards it. and I just joined it, and the thing was, the last clinching word was, the sentence was, in case you don't like it, you can always come back to the corporate, but government does not open their doors every now and then. You have to pass these exams. It's tough to get into the government. So try it out. 2 years of probation is always there. If you don't like it, at the end of your probation, you can just walk out. I mean, you'll be relieved, and there'll be a lot more people wanting to go into your shoes. So just to give it a try. But once I got in and I realized that I could really make a difference. If you, even as an assistant director, I remember my first posting was Kolar, and where there was floods. I mean, it's very strange. It's a drought-prone area, but the year that I took charge, even within 15 days after me going and taking charge, there used to be heavy rains. All the lakes had, breached. It was flooding, and so I was also put in charge of this relief, so I could make arrangements of relief for these people. I went to the extent of, because I was very young. I was maybe 23 when I joined service, 22, 22 and a half, 23, wherein I had got, I had this advantage. I could pull in youngsters. So I made a team of youngsters from college, from various places, and I went around creating, shelters, food, relief, and then also rehabilitation, putting them back to where they were once that happened. All that I took it up, and the next 1 month I was on, and maybe the flood actually came to give me that confidence. And when I was posted to Kolar, the deputy commissioner of Kolar called up the secretary and said, "Why are you posting a woman and a very young girl? I want somebody mature, and I want a man to, come here." And also, he was vehemently against me joining. So then my secretary had to convince him that in the new batch of officers, she has stood number one in the training, because during training we are assessed. She's a first ranker in the training, and she is a different kind of a person. You will really like her, and that is why we've given a very challenging district also to her, and a scholar. So the secretary also called me and said, "I think your deputy commissioner is not very much in you taking charge. So you really have to tread very carefully once you go there," and all that. So this flood actually came, I would say, God sent, for me to make my mark there. And and within that 1 month, the deputy commissioner had a different view. I was in his inner circle, and I was one of the close confidant, where he would talk to me about everything under the sun, all his problems, struggles, free, everything would come out. And he would also consult me on the solutions. So which is not a very easy thing to happen in the government. So there is a gender bias. Even today, it exists in the government. And today, I am posted as IGR, and a lot of people are thinking, why a woman? Okay, so this happens even now. But however, I find that although the bias is there, once you go and sit there, they will not see because I am the first lady deputy commissioner in Ramnagar to hold that post as a deputy commissioner. Am also the first lady to sit as a chief executive officer. I have, like that, many firsts are there. But find that once you go and sit there, and once you start your operations, and they get to know you, they would say a woman is a lot better to have than a man.
Now that you say this, I do remember us having a conversation about the fan following that you have in, places like Ramnagar and Tumkura, where you've literally kind of brought about massive changes in the administrative, structure over there. Would you like to share some of those stories with us?
Uh, yeah. See, the thing is, most deputy commissioners go in thinking that they are a revenue person, and the revenue work is what we should do, like land and conversion of land and other things. For me, my first priority was education. My first priority was health. My first priority was women and entrepreneurship, livelihood. So I concentrated more on those, and little less probably to the dismay of many land mafias who couldn't get their land converted, and who would all the time run around saying she's not good, she's a lot of files are pending in her office, she's not clearing files and things like that. What I did is education. When I went into Ramnagar, we were on 25th position in the SSLC results. And I sat down, and everybody used to say, okay, Ramnagar people are very rough. Then they don't give too much importance for education. They're like, a lot of gundaism is there and that. And that. But I found that people are pretty simple. They're the same everywhere. It is just that, we need to that little touch, and where a little guidance is what is required. And so I concentrated. First person I gave audience to is the deputy director of public instructions. I sat him down and I said, why is this you're on 25th position, what can we do to bring it up? Then I said, what is happening on Saturdays? You feed, we give them a hot meal every day in the government schools. I said, what do they do on Saturdays? So there is a program which I launched called Dreams on Wings. I said, everybody has a dream. You just needs a wing to be able to fly. So I got people from, Bangalore. There was a group of journalists, mind bloggers, who would come and teach spoken English. And there was a group which came and taught these children aero modeling. Then the Central Institute of Robotics came and taught children how to build robots. And like that, I got people from Indian Institute of Science and various places to run online classes for these people on because they can't reach every school at the same time. So we got them to do these online classes of Vedic mathematics and various other skills. So my idea was, actually this was triggered in my mind because I think within 1 week of me taking charge, a child drowned on Saturday afternoon. And I said, why is this? What was this child doing in a lake? It had suddenly rained, new fresh waters had come to the lake. So these boys on Saturday afternoon went for a swim and drowned. So I said, Saturday afternoon we have to keep these boys engaged. Boys, and that is the age when they try to do. So a lot of other things were done to prevent them to go from them to go to the lakes, lake protection and other things. But here I started concentrating on their education. We ran a pilot in Ramnagar where we did all these programs in Bidadi. Plus, I did most of the programs in other districts as well. We categorized students of the 10th class into three categories. The one who has a potential to get a distinction, the one who has a potential who can move into the first class bracket, the one who we think is going to fail, who needs help. So according to their categories, they were trained by various people. Actually, they came from Bangalore. I realized resources within Ramnagar was difficult. So I got people to come from IT industry and various places from here and talk to them. So within 1 year, we had reached the 5th position. We were 5th rank in 1 year. And another interesting thing that happened was in Bidadi, where we ran the pilot, the intake into government schools, many government schools had to be closed because students would be just 4 people would rather go to private schools and pay hefty fees and donations. Even a sweeper or a power karmika would love to put their children in an English speaking school, close by instead of a government school. That next year there was a huge rush for intake into government schools in Bidadi, and almost 3,000 students had moved from private school to a government school. That the government school association president met me and said, madam, you are the deputy commissioner of the district, not just for government schools. Your programs, what you're running is a fantastic program. You should run this program for our school children also. So I had to tell him, look, you're anyway charging a high fee. Why don't you do the same? I don't mind sharing the model with you. Why don't you and your association people run it in your schools on your own? and we have as it is. And I also said, why don't you run it for the entire taluka, because you have that money, and I will also benefit from my students will also benefit from it. So like that, I ran different programs like that. I saw that there was water shortage, there was a drought, consecutive years of 10 years of drought had really ruined the agriculture system in the food security of the district. So I ran a program called Jalandolana. See, Jala means water, and Andolana is people's movement. So, people's movement for water. What we did is we educated people about the optimum utilization of water, conservation of water, groundwater recharge. The slogan was, for every liter of water that you use, you must let 8 liters of water, used water, that is, percolate the ground, so that earth being the natural filter, the groundwater will get recharged. So every home, we encourage them not to let out the bath water, instead make a pit at the back of the house where the water would go into the thing. Then we also encourage them to use water again, like you would sweep, you would wash your house, with what do you call it, swap your house, and the water, why do you waste it? We'd say, put it in your garden, so at least your plants will grow. So like that, many things of optimum utilization of water. And I would find in the village there's a very stark shortage of water, but I'll find one farmer flood farming his mulberry plantation. Flood, you know what flood farming is? They let out water and flood the farm. And
Yes.
that. So I would say, why don't you use drip? And that water which you are wasting can be used for drinking. For people are having shortage of drinking water. So then I started, I, as a deputy commissioner, you have the power, so I started taking over bore wells where water was, and laying pipelines for people to use it for drinking and other purposes, where and pressurize people to go in for drip farming and all that, plus groundwater recharge. Then many farmers came out in big numbers and started doing desilting of their lakes, and the pipelines on at their cost. It was not, we didn't pay anything. The industries there contributed. Farmers brought out their own JCBs, their own trucks. They took that soil, the topsoil of the lake, and many of them used it in their farms, and so that the lake would be recharged, in the sense next rains the thing. Then I encouraged rainwater harvesting. What we do is, we don't realize we are using only and harvesting only about 3 to 4% of water. If you can only harvest around 20 to 25%, there won't be any water shortage in this world. But we only use about 3 to 4%. So I had experts like Ayappa Maski and all of them. I even got the waterman from Rajasthan to come, Mr. Rajendra.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was, and we took farmers from there. We did this education to the farmers union. We did this education to children in school. We did this education for all the Stree Shakti Sanghas, the women's self-help groups. Then like that, different groups, officers, and so this education, Jalandolan education, was done. We went out and did marathons. We did a lot of public demonstration of how rainwater harvest works, all that. So that was a very satisfying thing for me. So these kind of things is what. And health, I used to go to these hospitals and find patients sitting there along with the carer. The carer would sit in the same ward with the patient, and it could lead to cross infection. It could lead to all kinds. So I got ISRO, I mean Antrix Develop Corporation, to come use their CSR money, build dormitories for
Okay.
separately for women and men, where they could stay, live. There were lockers for them to keep their luggage. They were encouraged to stay there instead of coming and sitting with the patient. And we said, we will take good care of your patients. You can go and see them once a day, but we would prefer you not to. And I got ISKCON to give them free food. There was a kitchen where they could themselves also heat up their food and cook. Uh, bathing area, So this kind of dormitories in all the district hospitals. I think by the time I left the district, one was already built in Ramnagar, and we inaugurated it. Then the others are were being built still in Chanpatna and every district of hospital, which are, brings in a lot of patients. Then I also encouraged a token system. Otherwise, everybody will be just hanging on there near the hospital, and you don't know what infection they pick up in the hospital. So we encouraged a token system. I ensured that doctors don't ask the patients to come to their private clinics, and whatever needs to be done had to be done in government hospitals. I think I also upgraded it and got a ventilator. District hospital didn't have ventilators. We got ventilators through support from some organizations, new ambulances, all this kind of system. So that PHC is also, every village will have a PHC. I would make sure that every time I went to a village, I would visit Anganwadi, where the children are being educated, young children, to see if all the infrastructure is there and everything. One PHC when I go to the village. I would always sit with the self-help group women and see how they can be utilized. Their services can be utilized for various things. I would visit at a panchayat office. Then, of course, my own revenue office to check whether pensions were being given for old age, for power, all that pension system was done. I ran something called a centralized grievance system, which was online. You could just make, and had a call center. You have to make a call, and the grievance would, it was a very well designed software which will push it to the last mile functionary. So the complaint will go to the last mile functionary after, and we had given time limit, like water shortage has to be, tankers or whatever has to be sent, and that has to be taken care within the 12 hours. So
Okay.
every grievance had a time limit. If somebody had a grievance of, of a shortage of something, like for example, fodder, then it had to be taken care of by this time. If somebody had a grievance that the road was not built, then we had a little longer period. Then somebody had a thing saying kata is not transferred, my land is not surveyed, and my kodi is not being done. So everything had a time limit, and usually what could be done in a day, 12 hours was the limit. After he takes care of the grievance, he cannot close the grievance.
Okay.
Call center would call the person and say, "Are you happy and satisfied?" And only the call center could close the grievance. Otherwise, it would be triggered and go to the next level in the administration. And the third level was the deputy commissioner himself. Even if I didn't give two heeds to that grievance, it would go to my minister, district in charge minister. So he would be alerted that somebody, his grievance is not being closed. So
Wow.
this system I had done in Ramnagar, that grievance system was working very well. It is a call, and it's a toll-free call, so people could call from their own homes. And we also find a lot of citizens trying to misuse it for trying to get the service which they are not eligible for through the grievance system. That we would always send back a reply saying you're not eligible for it and things like that. So this
Right.
was the way it was done. So many things like this, I picked up small things which will make a big difference too. So there was drought, very severe drought. We opened cattle farms. So people were selling off their cattle because they couldn't provide them with fodder. So I purchased fodder. I opened cattle, care farm, healthcare farms where people could leave their cattle and go. We would feed them and take care of them for that period. And
So
then,
I want to ask you this question. So you've been able to connect with people, at an emotional level,
yeah.
right? So do you think you were successful in this because you were a woman, or do you believe that this general empathy is something that we need to now ensure that irrespective of whether the official is a male or a female, they still need to develop this empathy, especially when they're working with people, and connect with them at this emotional level so that work can get done and things can get better. What is your take on this?
It is both ways. Um, it is an advantage to be a woman because you have a natural inbuilt empathy for people, and but not sometimes not everybody, but that you'll have to develop. And it is, see, no matter what kind of rewards I've got, awards and things like that, that doesn't give you so much happiness as to see that joy in people's faces when something gets done in their village. Like, and that sort of helped me to go into my next assignment, where I work with the National Rural Livelihood Mission, where I really worked only with women, creating livelihood and economic security, through which social, cultural, and other empowerment would be done. So that sort of led me to take up that post, which was not a really a very high profile one in the government, but it was a very satisfying one for me, because I feel somewhere a woman actually has it naturally in her to be the protector. Why do you think people ask this cliched question to a woman? How do you balance your family and your career? And why don't they ask this to a man?
That
Because
was my next question to you.
yeah, yeah. That is basically because I have thought about it quite a bit, and I've realized there's no point in asking a person who is not into it that much. Like, he's there in a family. Most families, men, I find, at least in our families, men are very much, very equal participant in all the, family matters. But there are families where men become potted plants. They come back from office, they are like potted plants in front of a TV or something, and need to be nourished, like watered and fed and everything. There are play families like this. So generally, it is looked at that woman is the carer. Woman is the one who provides that security, that emotional security in the family. Men is a provider. He provides for the economic provider, but is the woman. So that is why when you woman become a provider as well, she goes out into the sphere and starts working. So people are worried. They said, you have, I mean, it's more out of concern that they ask that question. What is happening to your family, that you're coming out now? Are you being able to give the same amount of time and do all those works in the house? They don't ask that to the man, because he's anyway out all the time. He's just a provider. He's not given the other role. People, I mean, at least mentally, that bias is there, that it's a woman only who is the provider. Emotional security comes from her, and if she goes away from the home, what happens to that emotional security? Is there a void? So that is why they ask this question to a woman and not to a man, that are you able to play both the roles? Because that is a very big role. Emotional, I would say I wouldn't be all this without my mother's complete support, not just in taking care of my children or in taking care of the house. Or I think she is the one who sits with me when I'm really in some kind of a turmoil, a mental turmoil, something to do with my office. She's the one who says, look, she's the one who sort of gives me that mental strength to go on. Okay, so that emotional security is what they expect from women, and that's why they ask, are you able to play that role or not?
Very, very, very true and very pertinent points that you've said. And as you said, it's a very cliched question. So, in fact, I wanted to ask you as to, are you asked that question even today after, being in the services for 30 years? So, yeah. So, do you believe that women actually in the administrative services, very specifically with regard to governance, bring something unique to the table?
Definitely, as I already told you, one, she's the person who has some set rules for herself. She mostly, I wouldn't generalize. There are all kinds, but generally, it is a woman who women have those set rules for herself. She is a person who has another responsibility at home. So she said, I can't waste my time. I have, see, n things to, even a man has to do n things. A woman who holds that position also has to do n things. So you'll say, oh, I have n things to do, plus I have to go back home and ensure my daughter has done her homework, or son has done her homework, plus she ensure that food is there on the table in the evenings or in the during the day. And somebody elderly is there, Is it okay? So you don't want to compromise on the time in your home. So what you will do is you will try to do push in maximum during your day, so that you don't. So that way, I feel she brings more to the table than a man would bring. But okay, there are both ways to look at it. Because she's an emotional person, she would be affected more also. A man can brush off many things that he experiences it. A small slight from your boss is something woman can't easily brush off. She could go into tears, I have found. And every time a subordinate of mine or comes and bursts into tears for something, I get very angry, not at her for not doing some work, or get very angry because why is this weakness? Why are you so weak? Don't be so weak. Why should you burst into? Okay, somebody has slighted you. Forget it. The person who slighted, see, to recognize the value of another person, you should have a value for yourself. If a person doesn't value himself or herself, you cannot value another person. So
Very
why
true.
do you, yeah, why do you get so upset that he has not valued you? Because it doesn't matter to you. Because if he doesn't value himself, how can he value you? So forget it. So it most often feedback that come to you from people is more about them than you. That is something I have always, unless it's a person who's really given it a thought and is who's somebody very close to you, who can think for you, and who cares for your well-being. Otherwise it is a feedback which comes, it's more about them than about you. So
Right.
these kind of things are, so a woman brings a lot more maturity to the table than a man would. But a man brings, he is able to brush off many things, and he's a little easygoing, so he let people be a little easygoing also. There are, I can't generalize, there are both kinds.
Right. So, do you think from the time that you started to now, there has been an increase in the number of women opting for the government administrative services? And if yes, generally, what is the kind of ratio increase that has been there?
See, there's one nice thing that has happened. When I joined, and I was the only woman in a batch. In my batch, I was the only woman, and many batches didn't have any women. Means in the sense, like from my services, I'm the only woman. Some other services, there were no women. So in all, in my training, I remember in Administrative Training Institute, in my training batch, that is called foundation course, we were only two women.
Okay.
In a batch of 80 or 90, we were only two. But today, because of the 33% reservation, what happens is 33% of reservation in every category: general merit, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, the every category, backward classes, every category there is 33% reserved for women. So the 33% reservation for women has brought in a lot more. In fact, it is a little more skewed towards women, because you get in the general category also. Suppose you are very good and you've topped, you will not come under the reservation category. You will still get it because of your merit. But those who also get it as on a reservation as a woman. So it is not just 33%, it is more than 33% who are getting in. Sometimes in some services I'm seeing it's more than 50% women have got it. So
Wonderful.
it's a much better situation now. As we go along, things will get much better. But I think we should give balance both the genders. It's not
Right.
just this thing. And women should be encouraged to come out and do it on their own merit. I think it will come over the years, and then this reservation system will go, because then people will start getting it, and women will start getting in and in their own merit.
Absolutely. Now, considering that we are on the National Human Resource Welfare Association platform today, one pertinent question that I had was, do you believe that, it is time that we start bringing in a specialized program in schools? And I'm talking about like at the high school level, where students are made more aware of the functioning of the government, of what it takes for a government to behave, react, or function in a certain way, and make them more aware about the career opportunities that are available there. Because what we need today, as from what I personally believe, is that we need educated people and not just literate people. So at the senior school level, if there can be any programs, and I'm not just restricted to the government schools, but I'm talking about even the private schools, where students are made more aware about how things are, what are the kind of career opportunities that can be incorporated, that they can look for in the government services. And this will help improve the quality of human resources as well that we have in the government organizations today.
Definitely, definitely. Any training in those lines, creating awareness, those kind of things, very important. That's why I've tried to push Sakala training in schools. Sakala, something called Sakala Mitra. Anybody can become a Sakala Mitra and popularize Sakala people. I mean, encourage people, empower people to get their service delivered under Sakala. So like that, many things already, even something like model UN and all those kind of things are happening already in schools. In government schools, in the district commissioners have a lot of deputy commissioners have a lot of freedom to run their own programs. So I'm sure this will be of great help.
Fantastic. I would like to now open the floor to any questions that any people over here and people who are watching us online as well have. Anyone who's present at the NHRWA forum over here, if you'll have any questions for Dr. Mamta with regard to the role of women in the governance, as well as talking about how we can improve the public sector and the private sector, the government and the private sector kind of merge and bring about changes in the society, kindly do unmute and speak.
Hello, this is Vandana here. Can I go with the first question, please?
Yes, please, Vandana. But your voice is very feeble. I think you'll need to speak up a little.
Okay, now is it clear?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, thanks, Kirtana. And hello, Mamta. This was a wonderful, wonderful session. People like me would be definitely very happy to listen to the kind of achievements that you have. And it is very, very inspiring journey that you had with all the programs and all the challenges that you have faced and come up to this level. One main question that I wanted to ask you is, first of all, let me say congratulations, Mamta, for getting so many roles that you have played, and couple of things that you have worked on the Sakala programs or Dreams on Wings programs, wonderful initiatives that you have taken. But more than anything, you have been talking about the women empowerment and women entrepreneur, system that you have followed for the women. In that respect, I would like to ask you, me being a woman entrepreneur, the first time woman entrepreneur, and I also run a couple of small programs at my level, empowering women or teaching women to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, and things like that. Uh, there are two questions I would like to ask you in this regard. Is one is from the government point of view, for private sector entrepreneurs, how we can collaborate and see that these women are not only given training or skills development, but also to see that they become self sufficient in areas of promoting the products that they have done and all that. So how private sector entrepreneur can collaborate with the government and take this forward?
Well, then it's a very good and very, very pertinent and very good question, because the government looks at. In fact, I was looking around for people to be mentors. Government doesn't need money. We are already giving people money, funds to run their programs. It's all like a loan. It's not as if they're giving it free of cost. Because I'm one of those people who believe that you should not, give anything free, because once something starts being given free, people get used to it, and very difficult to get them become self-reliant afterwards. So I'm not for it. So this was a very wonderful program, the National Rural Livelihood Mission. I was looking for mentors. I was looking for civil society, NGOs and industry and other people to come and help me mentor. What happens is there are a lot of women who have started their little industries. The product that come out may not be up to market standards, so they will need help in terms of standardization, branding, training, which government does, of course. But I wanted one person to mentor every group. So a mentor for every group would go a longer way, because I had around 2 lakh 67. I think now it must be more because I'm no longer there. They may have increased the numbers. When I was there, it was 2,67,000 groups. Every group had 10 to 12 people. So that was the kind of women who I was working with. And so definitely there are many places where you can collaborate. And also people who are not a part of self-help group, there are lot of venture capitals within government who are willing to, uh, the government organization is willing to help startups. And I think when I was the deputy commissioner of Ramnagar, I had a women entrepreneurship park where I gave out more than 100 acres of land to women entrepreneurs at a subsidized rate. Like, the going rate was around 1 crore for an acre, and we were giving it at 50 lakh. 50% was the rate. So I had the privilege of making that park and giving out land and support to those many women, almost 500 women we gave. Somebody got half an acre, somebody got quarter acre, depending on their project and depending on how much land they would require, so to set up their industry. So there is a lot of programs within the government, and government is trying to do a lot for women. And I also very strongly feel we should not be talking about this every March. Womanhood is something you should celebrate throughout your life, and government believes also in that women has to be supported. So it is there are many programs throughout the year. There is support for women.
Okay, thank you so much. Coming to my next question, I just wanted to ask you, yes, once we empower the women or teach them the skills, the next point that comes is like, unless and until those products are marketed or gone out in the public or somebody buys those products, there is no point in they learning the skills. So in that regard, how as a private sector entrepreneur that we can take help from the government and go ahead?
There is some place called Udyoga Mitra. Okay, there's a place called Udyoga Mitra where they have some programs just meant for women. And for branding, what you're talking about is nothing but branding and marketing. There is a lot of support for marketing as well. There is the government e-marketplace where government buys these products from women. And then there is something, and when I was in NRLM, I tried to set up an aggregator which will push products on Amazon, Flipkart, and those. Now I think they've started a brand of products called Asmita, which is from Sanjeev, the self-help group, the National Rural Livelihood Mission self-help group in Karnataka is called Sanjeevini. Any group will have one name and they will have a surname of Sanjeevini. Whatever products they come up with. In fact, I got them to go on e-marketplace. There were people making cotton bags. The cotton bags, we got them market with chemical fertilizer industry in Delhi. So these women in Bangalore were supplying bags in a large number to chemical and fertilizer industry, department in Delhi. So like that, many products are already there. If you go to GEM, there is self-help group products and there are women's products that are already there. All you have to do is it is easy to get onto that platform. So there are several platforms like that. They also conduct several fairs where they encourage women entrepreneurs to come and display their products. You can take up a stall on the metro, which is very subsidized for a woman in the metro stations. Like that, there are many places where people are trying to help women market, not only market, to export. There is an export promotion council where women, my mother, who was about I think she was 65 or something when she got trained in that council, and she got an export license. So like that, women are, it's free of cost. You can go there, get your training, get your license, and then they will also tell you which are the places looking for such markets. They'll help you with it. So there are, government does a lot for women. So Vandana, you can always get in touch with them.
Thank you, Dr. Mamta. So we are close to wrapping up, and we have two questions that have come on our social platform that I think you can take, because many of them you have already answered. One question from Vidya is: can a finishing school concept be brought into the curriculum, as in into the mainstream curriculum as such?
Yeah, we are also trying to push for that, and skill, we call it skill building. So some kind of a skill building finishing school kind of a concept is, we are trying to push it into the in the education. And soon we will have something like that in schools itself, in grade 9. See, grade 10, we expect them to be very studious with their things. So grade 9, grade 8, grade 11, these are the times we'd like to push these.
Okay. And a second question is about sorry. So there's a question that says, can you throw some light on small business administration for women?
Mm-hmm. There is something called entrepreneurship development, ED, entrepreneurship development course, EDC. A lot of EDC courses are there. There is some a place called CDOC, Center for Entrepreneurship Development of Karnataka. They run courses for small business, how to run a business, how to start a business, what is financial management, what is product management, marketing management, all that. They say how much you should keep as working capital in case, what is your investment, all that. They will give you a full run of the course. Any small business can, people wanting to start small business can always get in touch with, because the money comes from central government, and state government also is pushing in a lot of money. And not only, if suppose you don't have a skill but you want to do something but you don't have any skills, you can even be trained in a skill and you can go ahead and do it. Government is for this time in the budget speech, the chief minister also has said that we want to create little pockets like China, where you can they're trained, and that is the product that you will get in that little place where every woman is in a. When I was in NRLM, I tried to promote that every home, it should be a production center. So every home should have a backyard garden where they grow vegetables, what they use, what is surplus, they should make it into a collective and sell it to some market. Then every home should have a backyard poultry, eggs they use, but whatever is left has to be sold for money. So like that, I've done it even in Tumkur. When I was CEO, I promoted it in 4 of my talukas, backyard kitchen garden going along with hand in hand with poultry. Which will fetch them. We worked out like 20,000 rupees per month from the poultry and the vegetables garden, if they do it properly.
Fantastic. So I really wish we could talk longer, but it's time for us to wrap up. So thank you very much for your valuable time, Dr. Mumta. And it has been a pleasure and honor, in fact, having this very interesting conversation with you. For those who are watching us, who are from the education sector and the private sector, if you have any specific questions that you would like Dr. Mumta to answer, please do, drop in your questions in the live chat, or you can get in touch with the co-founders of NHRWA, Mr. Ramprasad and Mr. Narsimha. And we will arrange to forward them to you and try to get Dr. Mamta's answers as and when she gets free from her busy schedule. On this note, I would like to thank Mr. Ramprasad and Mr. Narsimha from the NHRWA for organizing this very interesting discussion, and the media partners of iAsiaNewsMusic for the live broadcast. On behalf of NHRWA, I would like to thank the team of iAsia News, which includes Dr. Krishna Puttaparthi, who is the head and CEO of iAsia News located in Dallas, and Anu Benakati, who is the Chief Operating Officer of iAsia News, and very specifically the team of iAsia News Music in Bangalore, which is where their India headquarters is located. Vidya Sagar, who is the Chief Operating Officer, Jayant, who is the Head of Creative Design and Technical, Vinuta, who is, and Mr. Kishore Bhatia from Dubai, who is the head of public relations, and the social media managers, Anandita and Sagar. Before we end the session, I would like to request Mr. Ramprasad, the co-founder of NHRWA, to say a few words. But prior to that, just a quick announcement. NHRWA is also honored to be a talent management partner for Art from the Heart, which is an exhibition of art by artists with disabilities. This exhibition is being curated by paraplegic artist Shravani Ramachandran, and this is through her organization Pragati, and it's being organized at the Devraj Arts Art Gallery at Chitrakala Parishad, Bangalore today and it's also tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. The event will be broadcasted live starting now at 11 a.m. on iAsiaNewsMusic's Facebook channel. But at the same time, I would also encourage you to please go and visit the exhibition and, take a look at the art by these artists with disabilities. There is art being organized, showcased by over 25 artists who have various forms of disabilities, but who have come out and, explored the concept of art to showcase what they are, to showcase their emotions, their expressions, and their ideas. The chief guests at the event are film director Saad Khan, artist Radhika Hormuzji, and Shilpa Nag, who is the Commissioner of Rural Development, Government of Karnataka. Tomorrow, we will be having renowned speed artist Vilas Nayak at the event. May I now request Mr. Ramprasad to kindly say a few words?
Thank you, Kirtana, and I would like to thank Dr. Mamatha Gowda for her time she has taken out to come and share her inspiring story about her life. It is not that easy, as she says, the hurdles what she has undergone and the way she has come up in her life, and she's so humble. And looking at her, it's a lot of inspiring for a lot of ladies and women entrepreneurs for them to come up in their life and showcase their products or their talents and their skills in the coming way. And each one, when we say that our mother, our parents, or our grandparents, when they say something, we'll take it for granted. Maybe we may not believe in ourselves. The rest of the people, the elderly people, they recognize us. They know the talent of their children or the grandchildren, and the encouragement. If we can take it up, everybody can become like Mamatha Gowda and set an example to the each and every taluk, state, district, whatever, and set an example for a lot of people. And in the small discussions, whatever we have, might what have learned or what I've taken from this small discussion is without expectation, if you do something, how many people are benefited from this. And Mamatha Gowda, what she got, the blessings from innocent people, the farmers, and not the educated people, the uneducated people we call, but their blessings are so heavy, and that blessings only will keep us forward to go whatever we wanted to do. And everybody has got their own dreams. Like we need to chase the dream and see that we achieve that. And thank you very much, Mamatha Gowda, for your excellent teamwork, what you have done to the Karnataka state. I would like to thank all the NHRWA members who have definitely they've taken out your time and they have come and benefiting all those things. And NHRWA as such, we are also planning to educate 100 schools, children, where we need to give the education to the people. This is the next project which we want to take it further and see that we also enter into education field. And whatever we are doing, it is not a business. We are running NGO, and we are also doing all these things without any expectations. But we expect the satisfaction and each and everything what we are doing. And NHRWA members, maximum people are the givers, not the takers. So I would like to thank all NHRWA members for your support and service and guidance. Thank you very much. We'll meet you soon.
Thanks to everybody, and thanks to NHRWA and to Aisha Music and to Kirtana. Thank you very much. I'm logging out. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely weekend ahead. We'll see you at 11 o'clock from Chitrakala Parishad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.